YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV, and today I'm taking you on another journey to Mars to escape this lockdown planet. And I've got here a really interesting image which shows some really large structures here. I'll show you these straight away. We've got this rectangular structure here. We've got this rhomboid kind of trapezoid structure there. It's actually trapezoid, I think, or trapezium. And we've got what looks like a square structure here. We've got a hexagonal structure here, and we've got some other structures joined up to it as well. There's also some really weird structures in the ground, a lot of which are square. Okay, we've got lots of these. There's one here. Now, these may look like craters, but square craters don't exist. You might get the odd one that looks a little bit square, but this one is almost perfectly square. It's rounded off, of course, because it's eroded. But when you look at this area, there are loads of them. There's loads of square and rectangular and hexagonal and pentagonal holes in the ground. And some of them have got really weird stuff inside them as well, like this one, where they've got structures inside the outer structure. So they've got inner structures and what look like kind of almost like bunkers. It's very, very strange. I'll show you some more of that in a minute. Now, the actual image I've got up here is from the high-rise camera on the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. There will be a link below in the description, and you'll also get the link from this Gigapan. If you go to the top of the page here and click on the Arizona link, that will take you to that page. So if you follow the links, you can get this easily yourself. And I recommend you download one of the larger ones at the bottom here, but you may need some software to view these, like High View. You can look up High View and get it as a free download. The merged RGB one's good, but today I'm using this one here, I think, the map projected one. The main stuff I'm going to show you is this here. Now, straight away when you look at that, you can see this angle here. You've got these strange angles in here. We've got a rectangular structure here, just here. And just below this rectangular structure is something in the ground, another structure, kind of at the bottom of it here, just here. You can see this straight edge and a kind of double rectangular structure. So we've got a rectangular hole in the ground with a rectangular part here at the top. And that is at the sort of bottom end of this long rectangular structure in the ground. Now, these look very, very ancient indeed. I would say they're millions of years old, probably. But next to that, we have the hexagonal one. We have a more random one here, which is kind of joined up to this lower area. And then we have this rhomboid one here. Now, that is 1 kilometre long. And it's got a straight edge at the bottom, a straight edge at the top, and 2 angled sides, which are at the same angle. Now, what are the chances of that happening in nature? Pretty unlikely, I would say, especially when next to a hexagon and a rectangle. And I've got some shapes up here just to compare rhombus, trapezium or trapezoid. A trapezoid, I think, has got an equal side here at the same angle, and that's what we're looking at. We've got some of these two-dimensional, or they're actually three-dimensional, but they correspond to mathematically perfect shapes like hexagons, pentagons, squares, rectangles, rhomboids and trapezoids, and that kind of thing. And when you have these mathematical shapes next to each other in a formation, the chances are that they're artificial because there's too many coincidences here for these to be natural. So we've got a rectangle, a trapezoid, a kind of square pyramid type shape there, although it's uneven, and then we have a hexagonal one in the middle, and we've got a pentagonal one here, but that seems to be more natural and is joined to some of this stuff down here, like I said. Now, what I'll do is show you some clips in a second. Now, a lot of these also, these kind of holes in the ground are very strange. Initially, they look like craters, but a lot of them have structures inside them, like this one here. This one's got a rectangular structure or square right inside it. Now, why would that be? There's another one up here where we got some really interesting things going on here. We got a hexagonal wannabe crater here with these strange structures inside it here. which don't look natural to me. Okay, you can see these structures coming down. Sorry. Let's center that. We've got this structure coming down here, another one here, another one coming down here, and here, and we got this weird kind of straight line going right through the middle of it there and here. So I'm going to show you some clips of these now, and I'll put clips in at the end as well, and I may put a few clips in between what I'm saying as well, just to make this flow better. So this is the main area to look at, and when you see it like this, it's pretty obvious straight away that it's an artificial series of structures or formation or complex of very, very large structures. And all these clips I've left the ruler in, so you can actually get an idea of how large some of these are. This structure here is 1 kilometre long, 1,000 metres. Okay, so these are very large indeed. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to flick through, and when you darken it, like I've done there, I've added contrast and darkened it by about 25%, 30%, and that really jumps out. And you can see these angles and shapes a lot better. When these were originally built, I would suggest that they were a lot sharper and a lot more defined. What we're looking at here are huge ancient structures, some of which are partially natural, I would say, but in between they've built these other structures. Okay, let's flick through these, a color filter and a negative, and you can see these angles here. Okay, see the angles of the edges. You can actually see much better sometimes in negative. Right, the next one. Here's a close-up. You can see this one here. Look at this perfect hexagon shape in the middle here. Absolutely amazing. Really crazy. Okay, and there's a color filter, negative. You can see those angles again. You can see the outlines. Absolutely mental. Now, this is the structure just below the rectangular one at the bottom of it. And you can see here a perfectly straight angled edge there and a kind of rectangle here. This looks like part of a structure that goes into the ground, and it's filled in with sand. And like a lot of this stuff is filled in with sand and buried. And when you play with the contrast, look at what happens. We've got this perfect straight edge here and here and here, and it goes into a rectangle there with a hole in the middle. So what would that be, I wonder? There it is in brown, the brown filter. And there you can really see those edges. If you flip it and darken it in negative here, you can really see that detail there. That is not a natural structure, okay? Now, this is that weird thing near the top of the image. There's this. Now, I'm calling this the paw print or handprint for obvious reasons. Now, it's not a handprint or a paw print. It's just shaped like one. If you use the magnifier, it really helps. You've got these weird holes in the ground which overlap each other and look very strange indeed. Now, I'm not saying these are artificial. They just look really interesting and strange. But there may be more going on here than we think. And then we have this one here, this strange hole in the ground here, which is kind of pentagonal shaped, but we've got this weird structure below it here, just here. So some of this stuff is super weird. And as I've said before, many, many times, I think a lot of the structures on Mars weren't necessarily built on the ground, they were built into the ground. In other words, they would find a crater or depression in the ground and then build into it, much like a bunker, an underground bunker system. And I think that may be what we are seeing parts of here. These may be bunkers built into the ground, and they're partially exposed, because we have this strange structure here, with a straight edge there, which looks very artificial, and then we have this kind of rectangular structure here, and then what looks like a ramp going into the ground. Okay, absolutely crazy. Really, really cool stuff here. Some of this stuff, absolutely crazy. And on the page, it doesn't say anything about it. Let's go to the page here. Here it is. It just says knobs on rim of circular feature along dichotomy boundary. Now, dichotomy boundary is basically this here. This is a geological feature near the sort of northern hemisphere. Well, it's in the northern hemisphere. There's the North Polar ice cap there. and dichotomy boundary comes around here. This is the boundary between the land and what would have been the oceans, the northern oceans. We have thousands of craters and interesting topographical features here, and fissures and geological fault lines and things like that going right around this area. Really interesting. So that's where we are. We're in the northern hemisphere. I think it's around this area somewhere. It's not very clear on the page where it is. Now it does give you a location. It gives you coordinates, so you can actually put these coordinates into Google Earth and check it out on there. But I doubt you'll see very much on there. So that's where it is, and you can actually zoom out on here, and it'll give you an idea. Yes, there we are. We can actually see it. It's there. We go out a bit further, and there we are. It's in this part here. So it does correspond to this here, I think. Okay, so we're sort of roughly here, right? So that's where we are. This is crazy. I mean, there's some crazy stuff in here, and when you start looking around at some of this stuff, you've got these weird. A lot of these are hexagonal shaped holes in the ground, like this. There's another hexagonal one here, and some of them are pentagonal, like that one. There's another hexagon one there, and actually, I think these aren't just craters. So obviously, some of them are, many of them probably are, but a lot of these, like this one, are sort of pentagon shaped, and then they've got another part kind of dug into it. It looks, and this one here, it's got. This is square. It's basically square, and we have a sort of hexagon or pentagon shape in the side of it there, with another shape inside of that. Absolutely insane. I mean, what would do that in natural geology? How would that work? Now, I do understand a lot of this is drifted in sand as well, which is probably making some of these shapes, but it may also help show them and make them stand out more, like this edge here. I mean, what's going on there? So we've got some really weird stuff here, and I don't fully understand what all of these are, but what it looks like to me is like you've got loads of hexagonal shapes in the ground, holes in the ground, which look artificial. And this whole area, in fact, when you look at it, a lot of these look artificial, and we've got these here. Now, these look more naturally shaped. And we've got some really nice dunes in here to look at, which are really cool. That looks more natural. But we've got some very straight edges on some of these wannabe craters here, and it's next to a huge complex here of rectangular, hexagonal and square pyramidal structures. Okay, absolutely insane. So I'll just show you some more of these clips here, because these are just mental, and when you see them enlarged and enhanced, they look absolutely insane. Now this is that handprint or paw print, and I've enhanced it there, and you can really see here that's sort of straight edge there, and this part going in, and we've got a sort of rectangular shape there, and then a sort of ramp going down into a hole, which is actually pentagonal shaped. Very weird. So, like I've said before, I do think that some of these structures basically are built into the ground like bunkers, and that would explain it. And when you see this in negative, you can actually see these features here which look very artificial. Not all of it is, but some of it is. And that sort of crater area which I just showed you, when you here's the raw clip, doesn't look much, but when you enhance the contrast like we've got here, you can start to see all these pentagonal and hexagonal and square holes in the ground. There's one here, there's a square here, that's pentagonal, there's two hexagonal ones here, there's another one here. It's almost like a honeycomb structure. Now, I know honeycomb structures can happen in geology, that's not that unusual, but when you have some that are square and rectangular as well, you've got to start asking questions about these things. There it is with the brown filter, there's the negative, and you can really see when you flip these to negative, these shapes stand out. There's that square one there. But the problem is they're all heavily buried in sand, and they've got sand drifted in them, and they've got sort of dunes and stuff filling them up, and that kind of masks the shape partially. This looks to me as if this was actually a sort of a small mountainous range here, but it's been built into and modified. That's what it looks like. And then we've got that structure there, which you can see better on the actual close-up coming up. So what's going on here? Are these natural? I do not think so. These are absolutely enormous. This one here, like I said, is 1,000 meters long this way. So these are absolutely huge. And they don't look natural at all. And you just got to look at the details just below here, where we have this structure, which I've added contrast to. It really stands out. This is like a structure going into the ground and will go underneath this thing, okay? So there's the rectangular structure there. And this is at a strange angle for some reason. And it looks like maybe part of this structure, like a temple structure, or who knows what it is. It could be a bunker. I don't know. I'm just kind of trying to work out what it could be. But we have, even in the raw image like we have here on the page, you can see that straight edge, and we can see this hole in the ground and this rectangular structure here. So there's no way that, in my mind, could be natural. It's far too symmetrical. The lines are too straight. This formation is highly unusual, highly unusual, and I really don't think it's all natural. I'll put some more clips in at the end as well. There's loads and loads of things to see here. I could go on all day about this, but basically we have square, rectangular, and hexagonal and pentagonal structures not only sticking up from the ground here, huge pyramidal structures sticking up from the ground, but also going into the ground. And you've got internal structures like walls here, okay? So this looks like a bunker entrance, a very large bunker entrance. And this part here, just on its own, is 50 meters from here to here. And there you can see these wall-like structures going into what could possibly be a bunker. Now, unfortunately, this is all buried in sand. But I would imagine there could be an entrance down here. If you dug this out, you could probably find a way in. This doesn't look natural. We have a lot of very strange things going on here. So we've got this straight part coming down here, then down, like that. We've got a parallel part coming down here, like that, with an edge to it there. Then we have this bit coming down. It's got a straight part coming down there. This has got a straight part coming down there. Then it angles in like this. This is really strange. And then we've got this here, and then the whole thing itself is hexagonal. Now, is that natural? I don't think it is. It's heavily eroded, maybe millions of years old. But basically, these structures are all over this area, and a lot of them look natural, but a lot of them look like they've been modified. You can see these lines here, right? Parallels. That is square. You've got a square there, and we've got parallel structures there. So yeah, that looks artificial to me. I mean, some of these things I haven't even enhanced yet. Let's just have a look at that one. There's a square thing in that wannabe crater there, just here. Let's brighten, let's blur it first. Let's go to blur. Just a little bit of blur, 0.6, and we brighten it. Let's go plus 15. And again, it's starting to break up, so we'll stop there. And we have a structure in here. Let's go darker and see if we can get the edges of that structure to pop out. Do that a couple of times. Yeah, you can see it now. And basically, let's sharpen it. There we are. We have a structure inside here. Now, what would that be? Very strange indeed. So these are all over this area, and I'm going to call it a day now, because otherwise I could just go on and on all day about this, because this area is littered with what look like bunker structures and large above ground structures as well, including pyramids. Now I've really darkened it down here, and you can actually see the edge of that rectangle here, okay? And there's another little stretch next to it as well. So that doesn't look natural. That doesn't look natural at all. So these are not natural structures, and you can actually see a perfect hexagonal one in the middle. I'll attempt to draw around it. There. Okay. We got this one here. Trapezoid or trapezium. rectangular here. Comes straight down. Then we have that weird structure next to it, which goes like that. At a funny angle. That's either the entrance or some other structure just below it. We got the edge of that structure. It's kind of sloped like that. You see what I mean? Right? And it's got the top of it's there like that. So we've got that, and then we've got a square one here. There. Right? There's a square one. And more randomly shaped ones here, which don't make a lot of sense. And then we have a square hole in the ground here. And this is square on the top part, and then we got a curve there. That isn't natural. And they're everywhere. They're literally structures all over this part of Mars, in this particular area, okay? And we're in the northern hemisphere, near the edge of a crater, which is on the edge of what would have been the transition between the landmass and the Northern Ocean, okay? Which was enormous at one stage. So there we are. I really don't see how these can possibly be construed as completely natural. They may be partially, but they've been heavily modified, these structures, and you can actually see the join there, or the transition between the structures. This is on a kind of plateau here that comes round like that, and we've got a sort of pyramid structure there, but it looks damaged and eroded, okay? We've got this one here, which is a perfect, almost spot on. I mean, the symmetry here is unbelievable. Absolutely insane. Look at that. Is there any way that could be natural? I really don't think so. So more clips of these will be coming up in a second. So thanks for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you soon.